I don't know why everybody has wanted me to comment about Shannon Sharpe and his interview with Katt Williams.
Stop the cap.
But I'm going to say this. You wanted me to comment about it? I'll comment about it. Before I say this, however, let me say, no matter what way you slice it, you have to give Shannon Sharpe and his team major props. The views for the Katt Williams interview has exceeded over 34 million. 34 million, ladies and gentlemen. It's broke the internet. And in one day, because of one interview that has spanned over the last few days, Club Shay Shay for Shannon Sharpe has picked up over 600,000 subscribers. It's just big time. It's just big time. So props to Shannon Sharpe and his team on that point. Now, to get into the interview itself, let me say this. Before I say anything else, it's important to know I cringed. Through no fault of Shannon. I'm a huge fan of Katt Williams. This brother is a brilliant comedian. He's spectacular. He's box office, no doubt about it. And Katt Williams, he's one of the greatest comedians of all time. And he's always been incredibly nice to me on a couple of occasions that I've had the pleasure of meeting him. One time I was hanging out in his green room with him, for crying out loud. No, I was not smoking weed. I stayed off the weed. And I didn't see him do it, even though I'm sure if he did, he wasn't gonna be apologetic about it. That's his business, his dressing room, whatever. Always been cool with Katt Williams. Don't know him that well, but mad respect for him and mad love for his talent. Steve Harvey is a friend. Kevin Hart is a friend. Cedric the Entertainer, I don't know nearly as well as I know Steve Harvey and Kevin Hart, although I've interviewed him on quite a few occasions. But I got love for Cedric the Entertainer. And to hear what Katt Williams had to say about them made me cringe. Because when you got a comedian that elite coming at you, and he's funny as hell and doing it, but he ain't telling any jokes. He ain't bullshitting, and he's saying what he's saying. It's like, damn. It's an ouch moment. I don't know what truth or falsehoods there is. I don't cover comedy. I know that when it came to, what was he talking about? Some show involving Steve Harvey. When it comes to that, I do know that the Steve Harvey show, because I wrote it down here, was created by Winifred Hervey, not Steve Harvey, and it was directed by Stan Lathan. Winifred Harvey is best known for her work on the television series Golden Girls, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, and Sister Sister. I do know that. Outside of that, I don't know what truth or falsehood exists about anything or anybody. I don't cover comedy. All right? So I'm not in a position to say anything one way or the other. I'm just not. Having said all of that, that's not the reason I was willing to touch on this subject. I needed to touch on this subject, not just because the audience was asking me to, but I needed to touch on this subject once I saw this sound right here from Shannon Sharpe himself on Nightcap, talking his Nightcap show with Chad Ochocinco, talking about his interview with Katt Williams. Listen to this.
While all you guys said was, Shannon, you needed a follow-up question with what? I said I didn't ask no follow-up question when said he didn't steal the joke.
Right.
That's not for me to decide. You decide.
Mm-hmm.
You decide who do you agree with. That's not my decision to make. That was it. I never said I was a journalist. I never professed to be a journalist. I'm an entertainer. If you want hard-hitting questions,
Yeah.
60 Minutes is the platform from you.
Right.
Dateline, 48 hours. Go to Lester Holt. Go to somebody that does that.
That is where my problem lied. Shannon Sharpe did not tell a lie. Shannon Sharpe is not a journalist. He's a Hall of Fame football player who's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, arguably the greatest tight end in football, and clearly one of them, who also happens to be an entertainer. He did not tell a lie. But Shannon Sharpe cut himself short. Shannon Sharpe is a voice in our community. He's Unc. He's conscientious. He's thoughtful. I'm telling you, the Shannon Sharpe I've come to know. I've known him for years, but I ain't really know him. I love this brother. I love who he is. I got a hell of a lot of respect for him. And he's kicking ass. Got the #1 podcast on Apple in sports podcast. Got #3 overall podcast for Apple. He doing his damn thing. And this brother's going to continue to be a star in this business for years to come. Remember, you're talking to the dude who went and got him. I went and got him because I knew what he'd bring. Yes, First Take on ESPN, #1 morning show. Been #1 for 12 years. And on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, when Shannon ain't there, we still winning. We #1. But it ain't like we winning on Monday and Tuesdays. And I love every single contributor on my show. It's very, very few people on the planet Earth that can look at a show and have more than 10, 11, 12 contributors, and every single thing I've asked them to do, they've all come through. Love my brothers, Ryan Clark, Swagoo, Dan Orlovsky, Mad Dog Russo, Bart Scott, Kendrick Perkins, Jay Williams, Chris Canty, let me not forget him, a new addition to the show. Harry Douglas doing a great job for us when he shows up. Kimberly Martin, Monica McNutt, Mina Kimes, and of course, great Molly Karam, the matriarch of the show. Everybody has done an outstanding job. Shannon's been off the charts. Shannon's been off the charts. And I knew how this industry would be. How they would go and try to blackball his ass when he was let go by FS1. And make no mistake, that's what happened. That's his business to tell. But he was pushed out. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I remember when I got pushed out in 2009. I wasn't going to let that happen to this brother. Because he's too gifted, he's too talented. He's too significant to our community. That's why I'm bringing all of this up. It's not about me. This is his day. He's the one that got the Katt Williams interview. He's the one that sat down and talked to him. He did all of that. He's the one that got 34 million plus people looking at this interview, broke the damn internet. It's going to get larger, by the way. I think they're going to reach about 50 million. It's one of, if not, at the end, I believe at the end of it all, it will be, in terms of strictly numbers, the most significant podcast episode in history. It'll eclipse what Joe Rogan once did. It will eclipse what others have done. Because Katt Williams turned it out. Shit, he talked for 30 minutes before Shannon asked the question. He came there to say what he said. And to agree or disagree, that's for all of them to handle. Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer, Ricky Smiley, Mark Curry, Tiffany Haddish, whoever else he talked about, that's for them. Tyler Perry, that's for them to handle. Because I don't know those facts. I don't cover that. And I've never, ever had a conversation with any of them about Katt Williams or vice versa. Ain't my place. But what I can speak to is Shannon limiting himself to being just an entertainer. He is not. He's more than that. He's a voice. And when he called himself an entertainer, that took me aback. Because I know he's not. This brother knows football inside and out. He teaches me football every day. Just listen to him talking. Just so you, he knows it backwards and forwards. But he's a conscientious brother who cares about a lot of different issues. And when he speaks on it, he attacks it with fervor and vigor. He is to be respected and appreciated in ways that most people, quite frankly, haven't done enough of. And so my only words to him is that, nah, bro, you a voice. You ain't just an entertainer. You don't ever want to give the impression that, you know what? You can just say what you want because I'm not a journalist. You don't have to be a journalist. All you need to do is be you and be that conscientious observer that you are. Now, there's a lot of people out there that's going to criticize him and they're going to talk about, well, he didn't do follow-up or he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Stop that, you jealous asses. Stop it. I'm the professional journalist. Would I have done more follow-ups? Probably. That's not the point. The point is, Steve Harvey came on his show and said whatever it is that he said. I never saw that interview. Cedric the Entertainer came on the show and said whatever it was he said. So if Katt Williams wanted to come on the show and say what he said, then I understand where Shannon is coming from. Would I have done things differently? Maybe, because I'm a journalist at heart. I wasn't good enough to be some damn Hall of Famer and the greatest tight end in the history of football. He does his show his way. I do my shows my way. Somebody else does this show their ways. Joe Rogan is different than Bill Simmons, who's different than Shannon, who's different than me, who's different than Podcast P, who's different than Draymond, who's different than a whole bunch of other people. That's the way it goes. But the one thing I was qualified to speak on was Shannon telling the world he's not a journalist. Go watch 60 Minutes. Go watch Dateline. Go watch 48 Hours. Nah, bro, they watching you. They watching you. And because they're watching you, don't ever call yourself just anything, because you're not. Unc is my brother. It's my man. I will never, ever stop being gracious and grateful to him for coming on First Take. I'm sure he had options. It might not have been for the immediate moment in television because, like I said, I thought he was on the verge of being blackballed. And I wasn't about to let that happen. But what he's doing with Club Shay Shay and what he's doing with Nightcap and what he's doing with all these other... No, that's Shannon. That's Shannon. And I'm going to always support that brother, even when I disagree with him. And I'm not saying that's the case here or anything, because I don't know what the truth is, what it isn't. I don't know. But I'm going to always root for that brother. That brother shows up to work. He does his job. He's about winning. And he's about doing what it takes to win. And the success that myself and Molly and the rest of our team has been able to enjoy on First Take, although the success was there before he ever arrived, there is no question he has been an incredible asset since he has arrived. And big things are in his future. And I got news for you, Shannon. It ain't there just because you're an entertainer. It's there because you're a hell of a lot more than that, brother. Rising tides lift all boats. Shannon, nor anybody else is going to stop me from getting mine. But I got news for y'all. I ain't going to stop them from getting theirs either. If anything, I'm going to help. And that goes for Shannon. That goes for Ryan Clark on the Pivot. It goes for Swagoo, Marcus Spears. It goes for my man Kendrick Perkins. It goes for all my brothers and sisters that I work with. But I don't ever want to hear any of them limiting themselves to calling themselves an entertainer. You're more than that. A hell of a lot more than that. And I'm proud to say that, because you deserve it. This ain't about the interview. That's a different subject for another day with somebody that's more enlightened about the comedic world than me. I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe, the person. And I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe, the figure that he has become in this industry. He's not going anywhere. He's only getting bigger. And it ain't just because he's an entertainer. He's more than that. Just remember that, bro. Just remember that.